So how does a company get so big, so powerful, so deeply intertwined with a nation's security that people basically call it the Pentagon's right-hand man? Well, today, we're going to unpack the century-long story of how Lockheed Martin became, well, Lockheed Martin. All right, let's just start with a number to set the stage. $37.7 billion. I mean, that is a mind-boggling amount of money. It's bigger than the entire economy of some countries. And where does that $37.7 billion come from? Well, that's how much they got in US government contracts in just a single year. To put that in perspective, they're not just winning the race, they are absolutely dominating it, dwarfing all of their competitors. So you've got to wonder, right? How on earth does a company go from its humble beginnings in a small garage to becoming the undisputed king of the global defense industry? It's one heck of a journey. To really get it, we've got to rewind way back to the beginning. See, the story of Lockheed Martin isn't just one story. It's really two. It's about two different sets of founders on two totally different paths with completely different ideas about what aviation could be. So picture this. The year is 1912. In the very same year, two different companies pop into existence. On the surface, they're both in the airplane business, but that's pretty much where the similarities end. They're on totally parallel tracks from day one. Okay, so on one side, you've got the Lockheed brothers. These guys were the real deal. Self-taught mechanics, total gearheads who just dreamed of flying. They started out giving sightseeing tours for $10 a pop. Then, on the other side, you've got Glenn L. Martin. This guy had a business plan. He wasn't just in it for the thrill. He was in it to build an empire. And he knew right from the get-go who his biggest customer was going to be: the military. Now, for the Lockheed brothers, it was a real roller coaster. I mean, they had these incredible successes, right? They built the Vega, the very plane Amelia Earhart flew. But fame doesn't always pay the bills. The business was constantly struggling, and eventually a heartbroken Alan Lockheed was forced out of the very company that had his name on it. Martin, though, totally different story. While the Lockheeds were struggling, he was busy locking in deals. He started building bombers for the Army, like the MB-1 and MB-2, and that was the golden ticket. He built this super important, super profitable relationship with the government that would basically set the course for his company's entire future. And then World War II happened, and let me tell you, everything changed. This wasn't just an evolution, it was a revolution. The looming threat of a global war took these small aviation companies and turned them into absolute industrial giants, practically overnight. Just look at this number, 94,000. At the peak of the war, Lockheed's workforce just exploded. We're talking going from about 7,000 employees to more than 94,000. They were basically a city of people, all focused on one thing: churning out planes for the war. And it's during this crazy time that a true legend is born: Skunk Works. You know, the name sounds so cool and mysterious, but the origin story is actually hilarious. They set up this top secret team in a tent right next to a plastics factory that just stank. It reminded one of the engineers of the Skunk Works from the Little Abner comic strip, so he started answering the phone that way as a joke. And it just stuck. And this is the perfect example of the Skunk Works magic. The US military was in a jam. They needed a jet fighter, like yesterday, to go up against Germany's advanced planes. So this small, elite team, led by the legendary Kelly Johnson, gets to work in total secrecy, often just on a handshake deal. And what do? They deliver a prototype, the P-80 Shooting Star, in only 143 days. That's more than a month ahead of schedule. It completely changed the game for rapid innovation. But hey, Skunk Works was just one piece of the puzzle. Lockheed's overall contribution to the war was immense. We're talking about iconic planes like the P-38 Lightning. And here's a crazy fact for you. The P-38 was the only American fighter plane that was in production from the very start of the war all the way to the very end. Incredible. Okay, so the war ends, but things don't exactly calm down. In fact, in some ways, they get even crazier. The Cold War kicks off, and it's a whole new ballgame. We see these incredible leaps in technology for sure, but there's also a dark side: financial chaos and scandals that almost took the whole company down. And you better believe Skunk Works was right in the thick of it. They were operating on the absolute bleeding edge of what was humanly possible. Think about it: the U-2 Dragon Lady spy plane, flying at the edge of space, the jaw-dropping SR-71 Blackbird, screaming through the sky at more than 3 times the speed of sound. And then the F-117 Nighthawk, the first stealth aircraft. Stuff that was pure science fiction just years before. But while Skunk Works was making magic, the rest of the company was in serious trouble. By 1971, things were looking grim. They had these huge projects like the C-5 Galaxy transport and the L-1011 TriStar airliner that were just bleeding money. We're talking massive cost overruns that pushed Lockheed right to the brink of total collapse. So what happens when a company that critical is about to go under? The US government steps in. They gave Lockheed a massive loan guarantee, basically making it the first company to be unofficially labeled too big to fail. And this quote from an admiral at the time really sums it up. Privatize profits and socialize losses. The bottom line is Lockheed was so important to national security that the government simply could not let it fail. But wait, the drama doesn't stop there. The bailout opened up a huge can of worms, revealing something even more shocking: a massive global bribery scandal. It turned out Lockheed had been paying millions and millions of dollars in bribes to officials in other countries to make sure they bought Lockheed planes. This wasn't some minor issue. It was a full-blown crisis that shook governments around the world and even brought down the Prime Minister of Japan. So, after all that, another massive change hits. The Cold War ends, the Berlin Wall comes down, and suddenly defense budgets are shrinking. This creates a brand new problem for the whole industry. And the government's solution? Well, it was drastic, and it would change the face of the defense world forever. Imagine being in this room in 1993. The Pentagon calls in the CEOs of all the top defense companies for what's now famously called the Last Supper. And the message from the Secretary of Defense was chillingly direct. He basically told them, look to your left, look to your right. In a few years, one of you won't be here. The party's over. It's time to consolidate or die. And you know what? They listened. And this is where our two stories, the ones that started way back in 1912, finally come together. In 1995, Lockheed, the king of aircraft, merges with Martin Marietta, the expert in space and missiles. They called it a merger of equals. And just like that, it created the biggest defense contractor on the planet, the Lockheed Martin we know today. So after this 100-year journey of ups and downs, mergers and scandals, where does that leave us? What is the legacy? Well, today's Lockheed Martin is nothing short of a corporate behemoth, and its relationship with its main customer, the US government, is unlike anything else in the business world. I mean, this chart really tells the whole story, doesn't it? Look at where their money comes from. 70% from the US government, another 28% from foreign military sales, which, by the way, are approved by the US government. That tiny little sliver, that's commercial sales. Their business model isn't tied to you and me buying things. It's fundamentally tied to government policy and spending. And all of this brings to mind a pretty famous warning, one that was given more than 60 years ago by President and former General Dwight D. Eisenhower. He talked about something he called the military-industrial complex. He saw this coming, the rise of a huge, permanent arms industry. And he said that its incredible influence had to be watched carefully by an alert and knowledgeable citizenry. Us. Which really leaves us with a big, important question to think about. In this relationship, where does the balance of power really lie today?